and welcome back to another Talkers episode. I'm your host Teddy, and today I'm being joined once again by
Hayden.
And today we're going to talk about the TMNT 2003 Season 2 Episode 8, Secret Origins Part 3. So, what do you think about this episode briefly?
Briefly, this episode is a really good finale. I gotta say, it's really nice seeing all the characters. Oh yeah, sorry, briefly. To be honest, I can't put it into brief words because it is such a action-packed episode. There's just so much to unravel and to unpack. It is a lot of information to take in all at once, so I can't really describe it in words, but it is really good. That's all I can say at this point.
Yeah, I'll just say that I'm quite the opposite. I feel like with this episode, it had like a really bad pacing problem and didn't really know what to do with like half the characters half the time. It just felt like it was just like stuff was happening just because it needed to happen, and just it had really bad pacing. It became a little bit cringy to watch at times. So okay, so should we start with the outside stuff first, because I feel like that might be easier to, because there wasn't really too much to really talk about that bit there.
Yeah, sure, we can talk about the outside bits. Where do you want to start?
Okay, so for the first little bits, we got April trying to trick the general into doing an interview. Do you have anything to say about those kind of scenes?
To be honest, not much, except April wearing the sewer suit. I'm not too sure what it was, but it kind of showed like April's ability to change costumes and all that, and just oh gosh, where am I going with this? Can we cut this out?
Yeah, we can.
Yeah, we can cut this out. Good. There's not much. I don't know where I was going with it. Basically, let's start again. Can you say that again? Because that was just there.
We can just start from like where you're going off, just because I can, just restart the whole section a little bit here.
Yeah, let's start again, because I don't know where I was going with the April costume thing. I was trying to say, like, oh, it's related to, like, the original comics and all that.
Okay. Well, with that bit, I felt like that it was a pretty decent bit, but I felt like at the same time, the costume, it was like a nice reference to the original show, but at the same time, it felt like very weird, just because with how much Peter Laird disliked the original show, and how much he didn't want to like incorporate a lot of those elements from the show into this one. It's weird that he would put some of this into his show, into like this version of Turtles, even if it was like a fun little reference. I thought it was nice, but at the same time, felt a little bit pointless. I mean, with all the other stuff like that, it just was just so weird, and the fact that like basically like after like try to tell him, oh yeah, basically we've got a terrorist organisation to go block the building, and they tell him to go away, and then all of a sudden they see Blue Line like, yes, like it's just so, it was so weird and just so out of this version of Turtles. I feel like it just felt so not this Turtles, if that makes sense, compared to like other elements of this like Turtle franchise, where it would fit really well compared to some of this. It felt so weirdly forced in, which, yeah.
Yeah, no, it does feel kind of forced in regards to, like, the pacing. Like, oh, April's trying to warn the General that there's an explosion, the General doesn't believe her, then the General thinks, okay, we should believe her because there's a giant blue beam of light shooting into the sky. It's weird. I do understand where you're coming from with that.
Yeah. And then for like the last little bit for like the army stuff, we do get to see them breaking into the building and just start firing missiles at all the robots. Do you have anything to say about those kind of scenes?
To be honest, I wasn't expecting them to have a full-on firefight with the sentry bots, and then to bring out RPGs to then blow them up. It was certainly kind of shocking, but to be honest, I wouldn't expect anything else from the military.
Yeah, it felt like weird to just going from just like normal guns to then just all of a sudden just going in with like rocket launchers, just blowing everything up, compared to like I don't know, it felt like so weird and just how they escalated things quickly, just because, like, and the normal guns, like, were working, and then all of a sudden there's kind of rocket launches, and like, yeah, okay, you know, we've done it, and then, it's such a bizarre scene, but then for the final one, which I feel like you got quite a bit to say about this, we do get to see a shadowy figure in the fog and smoke. Do you have anything to say about that little bit there? Because I think you might.
Yes, I was thinking, oh, it must be like some sort of misedit or something, or like a blooper, but turns out it wasn't, and I went back and rewatched it again, and I saw the figure of the Triceraton that escaped, and I'm thinking, okay, the Triceraton's back, but then of course he doesn't, which is a real shame.
So you think it's a Triceraton?
Yeah, I think it's the Triceraton that escaped, and I think he's coming back. But to be honest, it did look weird because its tail. The tail looked off, but I thought it was the Triceraton. But I really don't know.
Do you want me to tell you or not, or do you want to keep a surprise when it actually gets revealed?
You know what? Keep it as a surprise because I know it's going to be good.
Okay, well, it's annoying that you don't want to know because, and if anything, I'm quite surprised you don't know the character it's supposed to be because it's annoying. But okay, we'll keep it spoiler. Okay, so like either way, keeping it spoiler free. I like how they are setting things up for the eventual reveal of this character when this character shows up later. And it's nice that they are showing it now and setting things up, but I do find it a little bit weird, which I do try to keep it so hidden and shadowy if, like, people like you who don't know the character seems a bit weird and often like that. And then, one thing which I did find a little interesting and weird, I want to say, is the fact that with the characters, like, growls and all that, I'm pretty sure they reused those growls in other characters, like, before in the show, so I think that's interesting. So yeah, either way, that's very annoying that you don't know who the character is. But yeah, okay, so let's go over to the main bits. So yeah, okay, so we've got the first battle with the Turtles versus the Foot Elite, Harden, Shredder, Baxter in the VR chamber bit there. Don't anything to say about that bit there?
To be honest, it was really cool to see Baxter again and him showing off his weapons. To be honest, I didn't really have much to say. To the fact that we found out that Stockman is basically a puppet to the Shredder. But apart from that, nothing really much. We got to see his weapons in use. But apart from that, not really much.
Yeah, I thought that like the stuff with Baxter, it was like quite good when him just comes over and was just like, you know, you've lost a little weight and all that, and just like electrocutes them and nearly defeats them. Which I'm very surprised about, like how powerful Stockman is in his tiny body compared to like when he was in like the last time I saw him with like his big body, where he was able to defeat them, but not to the point where he was able to take out the Turtles and Shredder. So I feel like he's definitely found his like look, which is quite surprising, but it's interesting. I'll say that. Then Han, I was quite surprised with him being able to kick so high, like above Master Splinter. But like, with Han, I felt like he was just there because he was part of the Foot clan and all that, but didn't really felt like he was really needed for these kind of scenes. Like, I mean, well, like, don't sound like don't sound like don't sound like where I'm coming from with like the HUD and stuff, where it just felt like he was just there because he had to be there because, yeah, like, do you understand or?
Yeah, I understand, but I think it was nice to see Han again because Han was there with the elite ninjas. He was there with the Foot. He was kind of like the lieutenant running it beside Shredder, and it was just really cool to see him back again because we haven't seen Han in quite a while. So I guess if it was just Han and the Shredder, then it'd be a bit forced. But because everyone was there, I didn't really notice it that much.
You had to say, like, he really felt just so weirdly out of place. And I mean, at least with the third elite, they could at least go after the turtles. But Hunters felt like he was just kind of there and just being there because he had to be there. And then also like the third elite stuff, I thought that was pretty cool to see them there. I don't know too much to really say about that. We did get to see Shredder. He's going around trying to be like Mortu. Do you have anything to say about Shredder and his fight with Mortu or anything like that?
The Shredder fight with Mortu, now that was an interesting fight, because after like 10,000 years, they finally meet and they finally have a chance to battle it out and destroy each other. And of course, seeing Mortu fight Shredder and seeing them both like angry about each other, it was certainly pretty cool, because after we saw the flashback, or the Matrix I like to call it, in which Mortu and the Shredder were fighting, it's weird to see them now in the present fighting, and it creates some sort of deja vu Matrix paradox, if you understand where I'm coming from. Like, it's super weird just to see them now fight after all these years, like a massive time jump.
Yeah, I mean, I thought that like I'd say for like now knowing like the history and the background with these two characters and everything they've gone through and been through, it does make this fight a little bit more impactful. But at the same time, with like one thing which like Mortu does mention, it just really makes you question a lot of stuff about like the history of these characters, because Mortu says basically like Shredder hasn't found him in like 1,000 years. And considering that like they've been on Earth for what 10, 11,000 years, something like that, it's crazy to think that like throughout that entire time he didn't find him. It's just so weird and bizarre that I was able to lose him more or less within like the first year of being on Earth. I just find it to be like so weird and stupid, especially like when you know like Shredder, because like with the Ultron stuff and all that, he's been around for all this time, and yet he didn't know about them. And it's just so crazy to think that, like, because with the whole stuff with the and with Shredder's like headquarters in New York, like pretty, like and it's pretty like close to like TSRO building. He didn't think to go over to that building that looks so bizarre, strange, or it's been up for all that time, or the Mortu stuff. But instead, he decided to go underground to try and search them there. It's just so much stuff like that, which. It's annoying because, but at the same time, I do like it because the lore and the history, but at the same time, he's been around for like 10,000 years and didn't find him once.
It does seem a bit far-fetched, to be honest with you.
Yeah, but then after that, we do get to see Mortu, he leaves, and we do get to see Shredder and the Foot Clan, they do leave as well. And that leaves the Turtles fighting the room to escape. Anything to say about that scene there?
Seeing the turtles fight the room, I was a bit confused at first, thinking, why are they fighting the room? What's this room doing? And then, of course, they referred to it as like this techno-organic life form, in which the room's sort of like alive in a way. And of course, that really gave me a lot of Alien vibes. And of course, we've spoken about this room before, and it reminded you of Alien as well, like something's going to pop out of its chest, sort of thing, like Alien. But no, when they said that, I was thinking, okay, this is like a sort of living organic room, something futuristic and dystopian. And of course, when they were hitting the wall, it was self-healing. And then, of course, they tried hitting the wall in a rhythm, and then, of course, this room kind of, I guess, throw up, or just like push them out. I'm not too sure how to describe what the room did to them, but they managed to escape and they managed to get out all right. But yeah, no, it was very weird to see that room, because it was all filled with organics and all that, very much like an Alien sort of style room.
You gotta see that with the like new threat with it being a living wall, I found it to be pretty interesting, because it was something which I haven't thought before, and I found it to be quite interesting. And even the designs with because we've got to see the tenno patterns on it, which I found to be very interesting and fascinating. And as I say, for with the threat and all that kind of stuff, it felt a bit anticlimactic, because we do get to see Liquid, which slowly rising despite how much is pouring into it, which you'd think they should be drowning within a few I would say like 10 minutes or something. It should have been rising a lot faster. And I do like how they're like hitting and wave effects and all that. I mean, that would be so satisfying to do in real life. I really hope someone creates that. But honestly, it was just so, I don't know, because I do think it's like a pretty interesting threat to do something like that, because it's something I haven't done before, and the way everyone went around it was pretty cool. But at the same time, it was just a wall and just some just some liquids. It wasn't really anything to end of the world or anything like that. So yeah. So after that, we do get to see another fight with the Turtles and the Third Elite. Do you have anything to say about that fight scene there?
It was pretty cool to see the Foot Elites fight again with the Turtles after the near death situation on the tower. It was awesome to see that the ninjas were back again. Of course, we already know how they fight and what they use, but it was... I'm not sure how to describe it. It was weird to the fact that, are these different ninjas? Are they the same ones? I'm not too sure. Something wasn't right. It was a bit off. Like, surely after the battle with the turtles on the tower, some of them might have been defeated. Are these new ones? Or, I don't know, something like that.
Yeah, I mean, I felt like with this fight scene here, it was pretty cool for the most part, but I'll just say that compared to like other times where we do get Super Turtles fight the Third Elite, I'd say that with this one, it didn't really have that like high energy kind of feeling for this fight, and just was just kind of there and just happened, especially with how we told us how to like beat them quite easily. I mean, I'd say like when you look at like back at the first appearance where we told us how to like barely escape with the lives after fighting them, it just seemed a little bit disappointing knowing that basically they can just go in, fight them and win within a matter of seconds. It just feels very anticlimactic. But we do get to see Futuretoid. He does use the voice command to change Stockman, and Stockman like electrocutes Shredder. What do you think about that fight? I'd say fight scene? Yeah, let's say fight scene. What do you think about that bit there?
To be honest, it was certainly very different. I wasn't expecting Dr. Honeycutt to have that sort of ability and to override Stockman's voice command. I thought that was pretty cool, like using Shredder's voice against him, and I thought that was pretty cool. And of course, when Stockman comes to his senses and realizes he's being controlled, he just goes full on crazy mode and just throws himself at Shredder, electrocuting himself and Shredder in the process, finally bringing him to an end. And of course, we got to give Stockman the credit here, because Stockman has been through a lot. Like, he's now just a head in a jar, basically. Like, he's just a head. And of course, after all this time, Shredder kept cutting off his body parts and limbs. He finally got his revenge.
Yeah, I'd say that this bit, I did quite enjoy it quite a bit. I'd say that Futuretoid like using like Shredder's voice, I found it to be like a very cool like use of his powers, but at the same time, he never does this ever again. So, like, even though it's cool, it would have been cool to see him do like just. I feel like there's like so much potential they could have done with this, like just him just going around like different places or different homeworlds and just trying to be different commanders and just just, like causing universal wars. There's so much they could do with it, but yet they just don't, which is really disappointing. But with the whole like Stockman vs Shredder thing, like again, like what I said like earlier, I was like how like in this small little body he was able to just climb onto him, electrocute him, and then just walks away. And compared to like last time where we had Big Sue trying to take down everyone and throwing everyone around the place, he couldn't take him down. But yet here we're just executing him. It just felt so like cool because of like Stockman and stuff like that. But at the same time, compared to like last time, it does feel like really weird that he's able to do it now. And just it's just like everything like the pacing and the like power problems which I have in this episode. It's weird to say like this, but at the same time, it's just so cool. So then that's when Shredder does drop a bomb, and this time we should think might be a bit interesting to ask. What do you think about everyone like saying, "Oh, it's an implosion device. It's going to self-destruct," and just nothing to do with explosion? Yeah, did you notice that?
To be honest, I did. I did notice the fact that he said implosion, like the bomb was a bomb that would cave in on itself. That's what I was going with the basis of. But yeah, no, it was pretty cool to see this sort of technology and to how Shredder still had some Ultron technology still left in his arsenal. But to be honest, it was really cool to see the bomb have like this virus effect, like it infected the walls, it infected the systems, and you couldn't remove it, otherwise you get infected. And I thought that was a pretty cool concept.
Yeah, to say that with the whole thing with the wording thing, I feel like that's more of a for kids kind of thing, which was just weird, but it's a unique weird kind of thing. But with the device thing, I thought it was like a pretty interesting thing how it's able to infect the whole like room. I think it would be like quite interesting to see like the whole thing like go outside and infect the building on the outside. I think that would have been like quite cool to see, but unfortunately it doesn't. But I do like the design of it, and even with some of the stuff which I don't want to talk about in just a little bit, with how they don't really rush to do much, shall we say. So yeah. So next scene, we do have Mortu giving Mars Splinter a orb, showing that what's her name? Hamato Yoshi, and is originally a Guardian. What do you think about that bit there?
Now that was a really interesting scene, and that is one that kind of blew my mind a bit. Only because that Splinter's master was an Ultron Guardian. That was completely unexpected for me. I did not realise that Splinter's master was an Ultron Guardian. And now it kind of makes sense in a way that Shredder killed him, because he was trying to find the Ultron at the time. And of course, Splinter's master wouldn't give him an answer, so Shredder took his life. And it all makes sense now, and it just is really cool to piece all the different pieces of the puzzle together to finally make sense of why Shredder was there that night, why Shredder killed his master, and it all folds into this one giant story. And I thought it was just really cool how they managed to squeeze that in.
Yeah, to say that this bit here, I do like how it's more or less like a retcon in a way, but I think it's like a really good retcon that it just like adds more to the story and more to the lore and history to everything, which I think works like really, really well, because it just like adds more like new layers and much more depth to everything, which I think works really well. But at the same time, just I don't know, because I think that because of how they do like the story, it just, and especially with stuff we should do later, because in like season 5 they retconned some stuff with Splinter saying that like and saying that Splinter knew that Shredder was an Ultron, which seems a bit weird, but yeah, he didn't tell us about Hamato Yoshi being like a guardian and stuff like that. So I found like a lot of stuff like this, it can be cool, but also at the same time annoying at certain points. But I feel like this is like a pretty cool reveal. But at the same time, there's a bomb that's about to explode, and yet they take the time to just like go down memory lane. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that is a bit. Now that you mention it, I completely forgot about the bomb at this point, because I was just really impressed on how they managed to squeeze that little flashback in. But yeah, no, there's a giant bomb that's about to explode, and you're concerned about family reunions and past memories. Like, there's more pressing matters to attend to at that point.
Yeah, well, it does get a little bit worse, because in the next scene, that we're talking to Fushitoy, and like, Fushitoy, you can come stay with us and all that. And then Fushitoy goes on a rant, and despite there's a bomb like counted down, it goes, I can go out to another world where my genius and technology will be like used for good and won't be used for destruction. Oh my, I need to go. But the turtles, I met you and you're my friends. Now it's time to say goodbye. There's a bomb in the room, and he's saying all that. A simple yes would do.
If I was Dr. Honeycutt in that situation, I'd be like, sayonara, see you later, I'm getting the hell out of here.
Yeah, and then I gotta say, like, possibly the worst possible cut they did in the show ever, because with this bit here, they got we do get to see Mikey, he's crying and goes, "Oh, I hate goodbyes," and then the next shot we do get to see the bomb counting down, and then the next scene, all was just normal, just staying there static, like, that was the worst shot ever. Like, do you have anything to say about that little bit there?
To be honest, I didn't really think of it at the time because of all the information that was being crammed down my throat and just like everything else that was going on. But now that you mention it, it does sound like, what are you doing? Like at that point, if I went back and watched it then, now I'd be like, oh my gosh, run, do something, get out the building or something. It's about to go. But yeah, no, I do understand where you're coming from with that. It is kind of stupid that they just stood there. They could have got that time to get out the building,
Yeah,
and get into the sewers and get somewhere safe, you know?
yeah. Well, in the next scene, we got the Shredder coming back again. So this time, Turtles fight him and throw their weapons into him. What do you think about that bit there?
Really, I did not understand why he came back. Like, surely they would have left him at that. Like, sure, he would have been defeated, they would have left, Shredder would have had another chance to come back in future episodes, but I don't understand why they brought him back. I don't understand why. That would have been perfect if he would have been defeated, and then Han took him away, and then he was saved for another episode to come back and take back on the Turtles, so they would continue on the storyline with Shredder. But then, of course, he comes back, and then the Turtles find the courage and the strength to attack him with the weapons that they just used to attack him, but didn't penetrate the armor. I don't understand. Could you explain to me what happened and why that happened, or are you completely lost as I?
Okay, so with the Shredder being back, he just wants to stop the Utroms, go to their world and take over it because he's the bad guy. And then he sends them off to go find Stockman, which they don't, surprisingly. And that's when the Turtles go and fight him, despite the clock counting down. And I thought it was a decent scene for the most part, but at the same time, Mikey's nunchucks was able to stick into his armor despite them being made out of wood. Like, even though the metal parts were stuck into it, like, it's not bladed or whatsoever. But even with some of the weapons, like, because I do get to see at some points, like, Leo's swords were in his chest, right where Sherelle was. So, I don't know what to really say about that, because he should definitely be dead by then, if anything, with all the blades going into him. God. So next bit, we do have the big reveal that the Shredder is the Neutron, and he starts to attack everyone. What do you think about those scenes?
To be honest, it was kind of obvious that Shredder was an Neutron, because Splinter pointed out it's the same Neutron from the flashback, the Matrix, all those millennia ago. And to be honest, I already kind of pieced together from previous episodes that Shredder was an Neutron. So it didn't have that same effect, if you get what I mean. Like, sure, it would have been nice to not know and then find out it was the Neutron, but unfortunately I figured that out way before, and it didn't have the same effect, so I can't really say it's like, oh wow, it's such a wow factor that I now know that Shredder is the Neutron from the Matrix in the flashback. It didn't have that same effect, if you get what I mean.
Yeah, I think everyone really sort of coming a mile away with the whole big reveal, which I don't think is bad, but I feel like they try to play off as if it's like a much bigger thing than what it actually is, which it is like a pretty big thing, and I do think like the overall retcon of it being like Shredder's Neutron, I do find it to be an interesting like development to his character, making like something more different, more unique this time compared to other versions. And I think it does add like a lot more. I don't know, because I'd say like with 2012 one, his one is definitely like he's driven by emotional stuff and all that. And I think that has like a very unique aspect to his character, which I think really helps like make that version really great. But I feel like with this one, because he has such a like drive for revenge with the Utroms and other turtles, I think it does add like a very interesting layer to his character, and especially with how far they do take things with over like the next season, which I do think is pretty interesting. But I feel like they just like played out to be like a much bigger thing than what it actually is, and it just. I mean, I don't think it's necessarily bad, but I just think that everyone's sort of a mile away, and I think that it's either like you like it or you don't. But even if you don't like it, it's just one of those things where you should just get used to quite quickly, because they don't really show Shrell all too much, which is somewhat of a good thing and a bad thing. For me, I didn't actually grow up like knowing the like reveal about this. I like knew Shredder was an Neutron from like the Toll movie, and so it just seemed like weird going back to this episode now and be like, oh, so this is where he came out as a Neutron and stuff like that. It doesn't have that same effect, which I don't know. I feel like they're just missing like. Because I'd say that they make it like very obvious in like the last 2 episodes, and I feel like there's like they could have gone around it in a more interesting way had they not made it so obvious. But it's like an interesting reveal with what they do with it. But I'm just gonna keep repeating myself. So yeah, but other than that, the fight scene was pretty cool. After that, we do get see the turtles. They do escape. Meanwhile, Shredder is caught in the implosion. Anything to say about that bit there?
To be honest, I was kind of annoyed that Shredder was caught in the explosion, because Shredder was the one that planted the bomb, and of course, he kind of like just forgot about it like halfway through. Like his rage, his anger kind of got the better of himself, and he forgot about the explosion and thought he could escape in the transmitter with everyone else, but clearly he wasn't fast enough. And of course, it was just kind of silly that the fact that he completely forgot about the bomb until the last second. Like, surely he would have crawled away into the sewers from the room and made his escape. Like, surely that would have been the logical move to do. But instead, he kind of just took an explosion to the face, you know?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't know too much to really say about that, seeing it's just one of those kind of scenes that happens. But the big question is, do you think Shredder is dead for good this time?
Well, it would be pretty hard to come back from that, you'd think, right? Like, surely Utron technology can kill an Utron, and that whole explosion just wipes him out. Like, surely he wouldn't be on this plane of existence anymore. He'll be gone. He wouldn't be alive. But, to be honest, the stuff that I've seen so far and how crazy Turtles can be, I think he's going to be coming back soon. Like, he's going to be surviving by some sort of magical technology or by his sheer will. He's going to come back at this point. It's not going to be like a huge thing because it's Turtles, and I've come to realize that Turtles is crazy when it comes to the bringing back characters and everything else, and so I'm just expecting like the unexpected at this point. Like, sure, he's gonna come back.
Okay, that's an interesting way to think about it. And I mean, Shredder, across various versions of Turtles, he has come back from worse. And even in the original comic, because he like died from the explosion from Donatello and the thermite grenade, he still came back from that. So, I mean,
exactly my point.
It's Shredder. Yeah. So then for the last bit, we did get to see the Turtles. They meet up with April and Casey on the outside. Do you have anything to say about that bit there?
To be honest, I'm surprised they managed to get the location just right. Otherwise, they would have been falling right onto a slab of concrete, and it would have been quite a messy situation. Plus, with the army there as well, they would probably open fire upon them and probably take them in for like a research lab and experiment on them and all that. Like, they got it so lucky that they didn't get caught.
Yeah, I mean, so this is one of the bits which I found to be really bad with the pacing, because with this bit, I feel like it was like good to see them all like getting back together and again. not really too much I can really say about it. It's just one of the kind of thing that happened. But with the way that it ends, I think it's possibly going to be one of the worst ways they end like an episode, because and we're talking, April was be like, oh, you guys been going for so long, and then so then, after that we did get to see like whole way of the van driving away, and then the toast speak go, oh, and we got a story to tell you. That was terrible pacing. Did you notice that, or is it something which you didn't really notice at first?
I didn't really click onto that, to be honest. Like, after them falling out of the sky and almost crashing into the concrete below, I didn't really pick up on that.
Yeah, I'll say that because of like stuff like YouTube stuff and all that. Mindset is it's a bit changed now. So so I do notice like this kind of stuff a lot more now. And like seeing it like here, this whole episode, it had terrible pacing. But yeah, what do you think about this episode overall?
Overall, I thought this was a really great finale episode. I thought it was really cool to see everyone back again and understanding the history of it all, and just seeing everyone fight again. I thought it was just a really cool finale episode. And of course, we got to see the Utron go back to their homeworld, and Dr. Honeycutt has gone back with them. So that story's now ended, and it opens up to a whole new storyline that's going to be very different to the one we've just seen. And I don't think they could probably beat that storyline after them going to space and now they're back home. Like, how can they make something better than that? I'm still at a loss here.
You'll find out eventually. That's all I'm going to say about that. But, yeah, I mean, with this episode overall, I'm quite the opposite with this one. I felt like this episode was just poorly paced, and just things were just happening because they were happening just because, especially like stuff with like Han, all the foot stuff. A lot of it just felt like really oddly paced, and then it had poor pacing as well. It's just, I feel like the 2003 showed it does a really bad job at doing 3-part episodes. I think like normally like the first part is really good, but then as you like slowly go on, it gets worse and worse, and just this is really remind me a lot of the like Notes from Underground stuff, and oh boy. But yeah, so speaking of the like next storyline and all that, so I do think it's actually gonna be quite interesting to ask you this, but because of all the stuff which happened now, like Shredder more or less being dead and all that kind of stuff, maybe, and all that, and then also the Ultrons going off to space, Foot Clan, who knows what's gonna happen to them, and the future for this series unknown so far. Like, what do you think is gonna happen next?
To be honest, I really don't know. I think we might get to see the Triceraton, and seeing if the Triceraton wants to have revenge on the Turtles. To be honest, I really don't know. We could see Stockman back again because he's now free, or what's left of him. But yeah, I really don't know. There is so much more that could happen that I cannot put a single point on it. Like, I can't tell you what I think because I don't know what's going to happen next. That's the problem. There's so much possibilities and realities that could happen. There's not really a sound point I could make with that.
Yeah, see that like with where they are, like I'd say like with where they are now, like within the show, I do find it to be like a really interesting point where they could almost do pretty much anything they wanted to do because of they more or less like stopped every bad guy up to that point with like maybe like 1-2 loose ends here and there. So I do find it like pretty interesting with where they do take like the next episode, which so yeah, okay, so do you want to hear some trivia for this episode?
Let's hear it.
Okay, so for this episode, it was based off issue 7 of the original comics. This episode had 2 references to the old TMNT show. One was April being dressed up as in yellow jumpsuit and posed as TV reporter, and also Krang makes so Krang makes a cameo in this episode. Was you expecting Krang to make a cameo?
To be honest, when they said "stop complaining, Krang," I was thinking, okay, that's kind of cool. They're referring to the Krang in this. Of course, they're not called the Krang in this series. They're called the Utron. But because I saw the 2012 version of the Krang being the bad guys, and of course the Utron referring to one of their own as Krang, it was kind of like a little funny joke in there, just to say like, oh, Krang, stop complaining and all that.
Yeah, I'd say it was like a nice little reference, better than the like 80s of them. No, so I'd say that it was like a really nice reference. That actually felt like it actually fit within the show, and felt it was just like I'd say that unlike the April stuff, it felt like it actually fit within the episode, and it was just like a nice little nod. That's what I'm gonna say. So yeah, I'd say yeah. I'm not gonna be able to repeat that. Okay, so the next bit is talking about the Shadow character. We won't be talking about that. The ending of the last episode featured a foot tech ninja in Shredder's army, but in the opening battle of this episode, the foot tech ninja is not present. Ooh, that's interesting. Shame it doesn't actually come up in any other episode. So, yeah. This episode makes a reference to the Alien franchise. That was when I think Mikey was talking about Shrell being on Wrath and saying the Shrell was going to come out of Wrath's body. This episode this episode ends with a long chain of adventures that began in episode 13, so that's pretty cool. The clip where the Mortal uses Shock's expression to Shredder's plan to use the Transmat was recycled from Secret Origins Part 1. And yeah, there's a few other little bits in here which was reused. So she's like when Shredder went to use his claw and landed on Master Splinter's stick, that was recycled from episode 11 Shredder Strikes Part 2. So they have reused quite a few little bits in here. Oh, also there was a little mistake which I've found. I don't know if you noticed this, but when in the opening battle, we do get to see a turtle using Raph's size, but with Leonardo's mask. Did you notice that?
Wait, what? Say that again?
So there was a turtle. I'm presuming it's going to be Raph. He had Raph's size, fastened in the foot, but had Leo's blue mask.
Maybe they switched weapons halfway through the fight. Maybe they exchanged weapons to fight different people.
But you could hear Raph's grunts coming out of him, so it was definitely Raph.
Maybe I really didn't pick up on that, to be honest.
Yeah, it's a fun little weird mistake, because we do get to see a lot of these kind of mistakes happen in the original show, which were very amusing to say the very least. I'd say it's definitely one of the highlights. So I doubt they'll put it I highly doubt they're putting that in just for a reference for this episode. But it was fun, cool, but it was a great mistake. Okay, so John, here's the cast for this episode.
Yeah, let's hear it.
Okay, so Donatello is voiced by Sam Riegel, Leonardo voiced by Michael St. Nicholas, Michelangelo voiced by Wayne Grayson, Raphael voiced by Greg Abbey, Splinter voiced by Darren Dunstan, the Utron Shredder / Shrell voiced by Scotty Ray, Bass Stockman voiced by Scott Williams, Fugitor voiced by Oliver Wyman, Casey Jones voiced by Mark Thompson, April voiced by Veronica Taylor, Hun voiced by Greg Kari, Miss Mortu voiced by Dan Green, Krang voiced by Wayne Grayson, and then the cancel things, they were voiced by Darren Dunstan as well. So yeah, okay. So for next week's episode, it's called Reflections. So what do you think is going to happen in that episode?
To be honest, I'm not too sure. I think maybe they would reflect on the past. Maybe they would, remember what happened. It was a pretty crazy couple of hours that they experienced. And maybe they have some sort of fond memories or maybe some horrific ones, and trying to reflect on what actually happened and why it happened. Maybe it's one of those episodes to kickstart the new season, perhaps. But to be honest, that's only my brief idea of what actually might happen.
Okay, well, you more or less are correct. It's just a Turtles like reflection on the stuff which I got a feeling we're going to struggle next week to find stuff to talk about, because they just literally just show clips from like previous episodes. So yeah, it's going to be hard to talk about.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's not one of the best, but it's just like one of those kind of episodes which is just like, oh yeah, I remember that. That's a good episode. Oh yeah, that's a bad episode. So yeah. But time for your favourite part. Who do you think is going to start the episode?
Ah, great.
It's not one of the Turtles.
Okay. I'm thinking maybe Splinter this time, because I think Splinter's going to like recall on the fact that he's going to explain what happened and why it happened, because he wasn't present with the Turtles when they went to space. I think I'm going to lock in and I'm going to say Splinter.
Well done! Woo!
Oh my god, I actually did it!
Yeah! You want to do it for next week?
Oh, shut up, let me have this moment.
Nice. Yeah, so do you have anything to say about this episode, or is all done with this one?
To be honest, I'm sort of done with this one. I've said all that I've needed to say, really. I can't cram any more information into it, because we'll be here all night if we are. But yeah, no, I thought this was a really cool season finale for this one. I thought it was really cool just to put all the pieces together and reunite the Turtles with their master and make sure the Utron got home, and closing the story down with Dr. Honeycutt. I thought it was a really good one.
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was a decent episode. Very poorly paced, but yeah, at least it's over with now. Yeah, so if you do like this, make sure to like, share, comment, subscribe, and all that kind of stuff. We'll see you all soon. Goodbye, yo. Bye.
Bye.